Happy Tommie's back, everyone. Happy Tommie's back.
Why was I missing? Was I? Was it not you who was missing?
Oh, no, not missing, but I mean, you were a bit morose there for a couple of weeks.
Oh, happy Tommie's back rather
happy
than
Tommy.
Are we happy that Tommie is back? Yes. Yeah, we're much better.
No one's happy Spud is back. It's like everyone just wants to listen to Tommie, and it's like, oh, well, Spud's on it because Tommie likes him, and no one else knows why. But
well,
anyway,
that's not true,
Tommie.
because as we've seen from Lever Spud and the reaction to it, that people are quite happy to listen to Spud on his own. I have to say, I really enjoyed the Duncan one. Not that I didn't enjoy the Druid one, it's just that I've more of the interest in Duncan than I have with the Druid. Yeah. But it's really funny, and it's it sounds like you've known him for years, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it was lovely, wasn't it? Like, I mean, I've listened back a couple of times, and on the second or third listen back, I was going, God, it took me ages to get him to laugh. It took me forever to get him to laugh. But then there was a change. Then once he did start laughing along with me rather than just me laughing at myself. Then
does he not laugh very quickly when you like say, oh, I think we're going to call this Lever Spud? Is there not sort of a chuckle?
Oh yeah, no, he was laughing at that actually at the start. Yeah, but I mean, we'd have been talking for about 10 or 15 minutes before that as well. There was loads of stuff that I edited out kind of before we properly started.
As Duncan says, Judaeus. Oh, I can't even pronounce that word. Editing with good judgment. That's the paraphrasing it. Judaeus?
Yeah.
What? How do you? Judaeus.
I think that's what yeah. And then like there was stuff at the end that I told you about the dream he had and stuff.
Yeah.
That didn't make it to the podcast, which I'm raging about. But then again, it's a private thing anyway. So, he was great to talk to. Yeah, look, come here. Before we go on to stuff as well, I want to say sorry to you, Tommie, for your Patreon thing, and I want to say sorry to anyone who I accidentally offended.
Well, we don't know, but the thing is, you can be sorry for them.
No, look, come here. Let me own this, all right? Because,
okay.
No, I'll own it, because like if I said something wrong that pissed off someone or offended someone, I totally didn't mean it. It's just in no way at all meant, because like, anyone who's listened for more than a couple of episodes will know, like, I stand up for the little man. I always do. But like at the same time, like, I'll make fun of everyone. For me, there's no sacred elephant. What's that phrase I'm looking for?
Sacred cow. No?
Sacred
Holy cow.
Holy cow. What's the elephant one then?
In the room.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway. So there's no bull cow, bull elephant, bull moose. That's holy. And it's just, look, I'm not going to go on a freedom of speech rant or anything like that, because I'm not American. It's much more important for Americans than for Europeans.
Being that they have the freedom and we don't.
Yeah, being that they have it in law, we don't like. And I'm sorry I offended someone, and I'm sorry to you, Tommie, because they pulled out of being one of your Patreon sponsors. So like, I've cost you livelihood. So I apologize, man. And again, I apologize for if I apologize for offending the person. Genuinely, I fucking do, and I don't know what else to say on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not really sure. Like, and people go, "Oh, you should know why you're sorry, or whatever." Like, we can't work out.
I do know why I'm sorry.
No. What I'm saying, we don't know what the exact joke was or anything or whatever.
No,
and I can't. And to be honest, I can't remember saying it or it coming up, but that doesn't mean it doesn't. It's like, I think there's that kind of thing that has to be taken into consideration too, as well, in that there's a kind of a cultural thing where Irish people do joke about everything. It's part of our nature and our conversation where we try to get the other person to laugh, which you've just mentioned in the Duncan Barford interview. That's kind of, it's part of how we, what's that word? Come together with people, or there's a
it's a way of breaking the ice kind of thing.
And it's but it's also part of Irish humour is saying the thing that you shouldn't say. That and it's a thing, and that's harder to kind of get through to people, and because of the kind of nature of the way the world is at the minute. And fair enough, like we're kind of in flux. We're in the middle of something here where we're trying to work out how to do all this, and I understand that, so we have to be a bit more sensitive and all that. But sometimes there's a wee voice in the back of an Irishman's brain that goes, "Say the thing, say the thing." But at the same time, it's not remote. You can say the thing and say something but it's not remotely Like if it comes to vote, you're definitely going to do the right thing. You know, it's just for the humor, like and all that kind of stuff.
It's a joke.
And it's just,
I mean,
yeah,
that's all. It's a joke. It's a joke, and maybe the joke was bad, and you know, I'm sorry if the joke was bad because I'm not a comedian, but I can be funny. I can also be very serious as well, and it's just a joke. And then, you know, I remember I used to write for Headspace to the meditation people. Head stuff. Is that called? They're an Irish thing, and they have like a podcast network like that.
All right.
And I left working for them, and they owe me money. I left working for
as
them.
an aside.
Yeah, no, they never paid me for the articles I wrote. I used to write about kind of being an immigrant living here and stuff, and then I would write
the Paddy and Poland stuff. Is that where it started? Yeah.
And then I would write about like some of the comedy stuff, the comedians I was interviewing and stuff like that. Just like something would come up, a topic, and then I'd explore it a bit more in a thing. And one of the articles was like, and they wouldn't publish it because they were just like, no, it's too risky when we can't piss off our audience thing. And it was just kind of like, the argument was, if you're offended by a joke, that's on you. Do you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I actually believe that.
Yeah, there is, but I suppose the let me see, the counter to it, I suppose, is that some things are just kind of like that kind of, we don't really know where we are with them, and sort of kind of, you know, like, I don't know, my vocabulary has just lessened dramatically in the last while. Not lessened, it's just my accessibility to see that the words are in my head, they're not there. It's that,
you know that famous quote from Stephen Fry about being offended. Like, I firmly believe in that. It's like, oh, I'm offended. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and what? Yeah, it's and what?
No, but this sounds like I'm pissing against what I was saying about my apology. I'm totally sorry if I offended someone.
I think there's a difference between saying something in jest and saying something that's offensive. I think there is a difference thing in that. And but Stephen Fry is more talking to, well, I don't know, I can't speak for Stephen Fry, but I think he's talking about even if you say something offensive, so what? Whereas I don't think that's the kind of point we're trying to
I'm coming from a, like, it's a joke thing, you know, so
but I suppose there's the case to be made, perhaps, that you know, it's if a constant joke is made towards a particular, say, Irish people, as it was for years, the Irishman joke, whatever, that the kind of constant disparaging, whatever, it becomes a social thing that Irish people are stupid. It feeds into that, and then, you know, people don't get jobs because of that, because of the stereotype. So I mean, I'm glad I don't have to, you know, sort this out. I don't think it is sortable out. It's like, I think we should be allowed to laugh at whatever we want, but at the same time, have consideration for the greater thing of what the joke means. Don't
be a dick about it. Make fun of everything. You know, like I remember saying to someone, and he's gone. I interviewed him years and years ago, and he's gone on to become famous now. I'm name dropping here, Tommie, and I rarely do this, but I'm going to do it because he's famous now. Tim Dillon. He's been on Joe Rogan loads of times now. I interviewed him ages ago. And I asked him
before he was famous. Before he was
famous, yeah. And I said to him, look, I asked him a question. Look, what's your opinion on punching down in comedy? And he's like, no way, man. He's no fucking way. He's like, punch everywhere. It's a great answer.
It is, and I mean, like, my favourite comedians, contemporary comedians, and a controversial one will be Louis C.K. I understand the nature of it, but also Bill Burr, who definitely does not pull any punches whatsoever. You know, and that it's there's something. The role of the comedian is the role of the jester in the court, in the king. It's the person who's allowed to say the thing that everyone's kind of thinking, but no one has permission to say. And I think when you start stifling that, you're again, you know, we're dangerous territory of all these things. You need someone to, you know, stand up and make fun of these things, I think, personally. But I also understand that not everyone thinks that. I mean, it's so the kind of. Everything is so under the microscope, but everything's so amped up, everything's so exaggerated, and it's kind of. I don't think that's real either. I think that's kind of.
It's not real. I don't.
That only exists online in a sense, but that's where we all exist right now. So you know.
Well, that's just exactly what I was going to say. It's like all this stuff is controversial on the internet.
Yeah.
That's all.
Sure, but it also
most people
real
don't
world.
use the internet.
No, but like it still has real world ramifications. As I know we keep name dropping that You've Been Publicly Shamed John Ronson book, which shows how a very innocuous, semi-innocuous joke, seemingly racist joke though, had a tremendous impact on one woman's life. How other people ended up killing themselves over stuff that happened on Twitter, and that while it is kind of cyberspace and all of that, and it's that unreality of it, it's still people still lose their jobs over certain things. People like get cancelled, lose their livelihoods. Like there's presidents get impeached, all of this stuff. Even though it's where is the boundaries anymore, particularly in the lockdown, because all our stuff is on Zoom now. All our interactions. You don't have the debate that you would have in the pub. You can't have online in the same way because it's a completely different, in a sense, battleground with different rules. And I don't know what the answer is. I think. Oh,
I know what the answer is. Well, get off social media.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, what I mean, that's not. I don't know what the conclusion is, but I'd be positive that I think we work it out. Because
I think so too. I think younger people are far smarter than us. Because we were born without the internet, so we still don't really know what we're doing with it. Yeah. Whereas young people have this from the start, they'll be better. Young people are smarter than we are. Way smarter.
And hopefully so. And do better and have better ideas and make
Trust
better music.
Youth, Tommie.
All of those things.
Trust in youth, but respect your elders as well. Don't be mean to old people. Yeah,
well, it's not even that. There's something that an 80-year-old man knows about life that me as a 43-year-old man doesn't, just by the nature that he's been here longer. Now, I might have read more books, I might understand politics a bit better, or whatever it is. I might be less racist. Whatever it is, he knows something about living on this planet that I just can't. That, well, I assume I will know by, if I get to 80 or whatever it is.
Of course.
So, yeah. So as the leader of the Church of Tommie, I absolve you from all sins. I ask you, will you please say a decade of the Rosary and say something, and do something nice for your mammy or something. I don't know. Yeah,
I will do, of course.
Yeah, it's an odd one, and we've spoken before that there's certain things that we don't talk about on the podcast, but it's not. It's just that it's not worth the hassle, I think, but it's also not. It's not worth the hassle, but that it also it's not. It's not the hill I want to die on either. So it's not that if I cared about something enough and it was controversial, I think I'd possibly say.
I don't know, like since like your man's what's his name, Jordan Peterson, since his podcast came back, and I've clicked on a few of them and it lasted about 5 minutes and just gone. It's just two fellas with opinions. Yeah. And I can't take a lot of that anymore.
Yeah. No.
And I know this is what we're doing as well.
Yeah.
But it's just that when it's the academic, highfalutin thing, and they're just spending the first 15 minutes trying to,
define what truth is.
Define what a specific word is. You just like, will you just get to it, will you?
But it's got to that point that I suppose that we have to, so that there's no so you even seen already that the hit piece that was it the Times did on him recently. About if you want to get into it, but it's did an interview with him saying we'll talk about your health, and then just did a total and utter takedown piece on him as a person and said he was schizophrenic.
This is why he put out the unedited.
Yeah. But from a journalistic point of view, what's said in whatever the truth of the matter is, right? But what's said in the audio recording and what's in the thing is different. So
of course. That's why. Look, anyone who gets interviewed for anything should always record their own side.
Yeah,
always. And keep it, because you want to make sure that you don't. He obviously knew, or
his daughter knew that
something was going to go down.
Yeah,
So and like you can't trust the Times. The Times is owned by Rupert Murdoch. It's just like he's. The reincarnation of Edward Bernays. It's just like the worst human of all time.
Yeah. Which reminds me that Adam Curtis's new documentary is out tomorrow on the 11th.
All right, that'll be good.
BBC iPlayer only, so get your VPNs at the ready.
Non-UK
peeps.
Is it on telly? Is it on telly as well? No,
it's premiering on what I've seen. It's premiering on the iPlayer rather than on BBC. Because he watches the people. Yeah, that's the world now, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it's better, isn't it? You don't have to. Well, I mean, depends. Like, it's not going to premiere at a specific time, is it? Because then
I assume whatever 12 o'clock. The date.
Oh, it's just out at midday or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or midnight. That'll make more sense.
Pure speculation on my behalf, but it's from the very small time I looked at the YouTube description the other day.
Because we were talking about that down the country, the way that, like, Aga's mom has this obsession with watching the game show. It's also on British TV. I think it's called 40 to 1 or 30 to 1.
Don't know.
Do you know when you start, there's like 10 people and they all have 3 lives each and they have to answer trivia questions. It's pretty good. It's like you have to be, it's not just
it's just the one where they dumped them off the chair at the end. That one, no, is it?
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's a chair. They say the chair. It's a bit like The Weakest Link, but more difficult.
Right, okay.
And I think there's not as much money involved. It's more intelligent.
Is it your standard UK lunchtime quiz show?
No. It's smarter than that. It's right, okay. It's okay, but she has this thing about watching it. And we were just saying that, like, there was a young, like, 16-year-old girl staying with her parents with us as well. And we were saying that, like, like she doesn't have this thing of watching telly, because that generation just doesn't watch telly. Like, they don't understand this thing that, like, I'm going to sit down at 5 o'clock and watch this thing because it's on every day at 5 o'clock. I was like, what? What are you doing? Like, just download and watch it yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be gone, isn't it?
Yeah. It was great as well. One night we were there and the telly didn't work because of the blizzards and the storms. There was no telly and there was people just talking. It was lovely. And I was just reading my book. I wasn't really involved because they're just talking. They're talking Polish too fast for me. But every now and again, you can understand what's going on and say something. But like, it's just
every now. The Spud. The Spud is a dick. Look at that.
You hear your name and you're like, what? What are you saying about me? And
that's my how people speak Polish. I think it's a pretty exact interpretation of that language.
I have different identities as well, man. Because some people call me my proper name, some call me the nickname, some call me the other nickname, some call me the declinated nickname. So just people know me by different names. And
do you ever get called Pat by anyone? No?
Yeah, at home, some people call me Pat. Some relations call me Pat. Yeah, Pat, Pa, Pajo. There's some of my family names.
Pad is
Pad. Pado. I was called in Dublin. That was awful. Oh, you Pado.
Patty.
Patty? No, never. No.
It's
never
a very American thing. When I moved to RD, I immediately became Tom by everyone. It's very weird.
How are you, Tom?
Tom, yeah, just even down to like the postman who only knew me by my name on letters, Tommie, just called me Tom, and it's funny, it's interesting. It's like.
Can you not read? You're the postman.
Like, fine if it was Thomas Kelly, you'd go and you call me Tom, fine, but nah, just get used to it. And then someone recently, I can't remember, it was something very bizarre, like some kid or something just called me Tom. I was like, what? Like, really?
So here, tell me, how come this fuck you positivity Tommie is back?
Well, in a sense, it kind of ties in slightly with the podcast you did with Duncan. It ties in a bit with the documentary that we're hoping to get talking to, but we can never guarantee this that we get round to it. And just kind of, it was like, there's a thing, and I noticed about how we approach things, and it's kind of I can explain it through a metaphor, and it's something that you and Duncan. I thought you were
going to do. I'm going to explain it through interpretive dance.
Yeah. Well, yes, on an audio podcast, I will. Oh, look how great I'm dancing! That's an extremely impressive move. How does he get into that position?
That move signifies the destruction of the Myanmar economy. That's what that is. That's what he's dancing about here, folks.
He's now doing the Tree of Creation and the wall around the Garden of Eden, which is essentially all of us people.
He's growing a beard and looking like Jonathan Peugeot.
Yeah. There's vaguely weird, very Christian things about the end of the world. So you were talking to Duncan and you were talking about how you argue things where you both kind of attack it before you accept it. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, well, I think everyone does that in some way. I can't speak for Duncan, but I can speak for you, certainly do it. More than that's your first natural approach. It's like, say you go into a room, and the room is the metaphor for whatever new idea or book or whatever you're looking at. And you walk into the room with a sledgehammer. and you go, fuck this window, that's nonsense. Fuck this floor, that's utter bullshit. I've heard this before. That roof definitely is coming off because that's complete nonsense. So you end up, so you stand in the room and you go, and you have a kind of a fireplace and half a bookshelf left. And you go, well, you know what? Jeez, I didn't expect to get anything here, but there's a fireplace and half a bookshelf. Victory. I think that seems fair, right? That seems yeah. Now the problem,
totally fair.
But that's like, you could come and going, well, you should maybe have a bit more of an appreciation. But I'm going to suggest that's ends up in a more positive place than the way I kind of deal with stuff mostly. Like, I mean, obviously, sometimes I sledgehammer things too. So I go into the room and I go, wow, look at this. This is it. This could be the room. This could be it. And you sit there and go, oh, wow. What's that? Oh, that window's cracked. Shit. Oh, the paint's falling off that wall. Foundations don't look good in here. Oh, the roof's coming in. And so I end up in the same room with a fireplace and half a bookshelf and going, I thought I was getting the secret here. I only have for the fireplace and half a bookshelf. Fuck, here we go again. So we both end up with the fireplace and half a bookshelf, but you're in a much better position than I am from it. I come out feeling
that's very smart.
deflated and, all let down, where you're going, oh Jesus, I got a fireplace and half a bookshelf. And it is like, your approach to it, in a sense, it could be ostensibly more negative. It's a negative approach. Fuck it all, destroy everything. Where go, oh, I'm much more open and I'll take it all at face value. But I think the outcome is much better the way you approach it. But I don't know if it's changeable. If I can sledgehammer a bit more, probably could. But I think the disillusionment that you get from being let down can be very wearing. And probably maybe you did go through in a period where you looked at things the way I do, and you just you become a bit more expedient to get to it.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't think of any like specific thing or anything like that happened, but maybe it was just something somewhere along the way. I just went, nah, I need to speed things up a bit or something. I don't know. So that you were asking, well, why did that kind of change thing? That was one of them, realising that the way I kind of absorb knowledge is probably not the best way to lead myself to trying, ending up in a kind of a better place. That we'll still end up with the same answers, but you're delighted, I'm let down, kind of, and you get on to the next room that you have a look at. So it's kind of trying to make it a point of that. Well, no, don't do that. Have a bit more of a positive thing. But it's also kind of two other things. One was doing the Turbine Syndrome chapter that came out last week, and that was very heavy, very down, and very heavy. Yeah,
very dark place. And that was not mostly written, 95% bar. Some editing written late one night, COVID, darkness, drunk. It wasn't as if I knew what the story was. I knew what had to be written, and it just seemed like the perfect kind of mood to kind of to do it in. But because it was like a month before I got the artwork kind of finished, you're kind of sitting in that place for a long while. You're kind of dealing with that character. So nearly as soon as that was kind of finished, there was a sense of that kind of moving away from me, particularly that the next chapter is a bit more, well, not a bit more, very more jovial and magic-y and different in spirit, and I can feel, my headspace moving into that. So that was good. The third thing is kind of realising, and this is going to come into the documentary thing that we were going to talk about, which is a glitch in the Matrix. It's kind of realising that every kind of theory or every kind of spiritual outlook or magic or religious thing seems to be based on the idea that where you are right now is wrong, that there's something wrong with it. And so at the back of my head, I always have this feeling that this is wrong, that there's something to escape to, something better, something to awaken up into, some heaven to get to, or whatever. And I just kind of seen that as going that's probably not, that isn't good. Because it never allows you to be in the present moment, happy, in the sense in your life. You're always trying to get away, or you think, and it's the same with with simulation theory. It's the same with the Hindus, Maya. It's the same with the Buddhist. All of these things seem to have this thing that there's something wrong now, and you have to get somewhere else. And while I do think, obviously the place is not perfect, and enlightenment can improve upon the situation, there is a kind of an insidious thought in that humans and life and the earth is wrong. It's a thing to be not necessarily destroyed, although that does seem to come into the kind of Christian thing of wanting to bring on the apocalypse to get to get to God's whatever his promise.
40 virgins. No, that's the other one.
No, it's but but it's just the same thing. It's just kind of apocalyptic thinking, and it's so prevalent in kind of everything. Like, even I was thinking, because I says, right, I'll go back to the people I was in at the beginning, and like early Stuart Wilde books are super positive and they're brilliant. But he gets into not very quickly, in the 90s, into like apocalyptic thinking. He starts thinking about the end of the world. He starts making prophecies. There's all this like that. He starts thinking about there's government's conspiracies. He gets into that kind of darkness that I see. It seems to be part of it, a kind of a program that runs in certain personalities and certain teachers and certain things. Without naming names, I mean, we can all already think of probably a number of them. And it's just it's that kind of thought of that there's something wrong. And I was kind of going, well, I'm going to question that. I'm going to question that thought, because I usually just consider that kind of in the back of my mind as being something that's, true. And I remember last year trying to get more in touch with, or whatever it was, 2 years ago. Now, lockdown is, skewed all sense of time. But, when I started going out into forests properly, and, trying to connect with land and the earth, and, rather than seeing it as, a simulation to escape, a game you have to get out of, this is it. And so it's kind of a return to that. Because I remember, and this is kind of, I don't know, saccharine and, bit thing. But I was walking home the other night with my son, and he was just holding my hand. And it was, it was all nice, and it was windy, and he was, getting cold, whatever. And he just looked up to me, and he went, "Bodie happy? Daddy happy?" And I went, "Daddy happy?" And I was going, "It's not much wrong with this fucking planet or this world, like in that moment, to say that, that's worth evolving out of, or, coming away from, or whatever. And just kind of, and, it's more than just in the sense of, being the now, being the thing, but it's like, it's okay to be Tommie, it's okay to be on Earth, it's okay to be a white person, it's okay to be a black person, it's okay to be a trans person, it's okay to be whatever way you kind of are. And rather than think that all of this is something that you have to put behind you, grow up, become something, else, and, let's get on to the next thing, this, the Earth being some sort of debasement of something purer or something. No, we're here, we're here for a reason, and a lot of this place is really awesome, and I don't want to give up on it yet, and most people seem to have given up on it, and I don't want to give up on it.
Yeah, fuck them. Because I come to believe that, like, the world reflects you and your attitude, and if you're come on, I could if I had the motivation to. I could write a whole book on it, of how miserable it was and how miserable my world was around me, all because of me, because that's the way I saw it. But like, if I put out some positive vibes, man, man.
Yeah, and I think that the forced positivity, fine, I have issues with in that kind of thing. But I think a better way is have an optimistic view in it. Is like, understand what's going on. Be optimistic about the outcome, rather than the forced positivity is more trying to hide the stuff that's going on. That's not really happening. I'm not looking at it. It's like, but saying
that's hard to swallow, the forced stuff. I mean, it's easy. Like, while there's a thin line between it, it's easy enough to spot. It is, but it could be a good stepping stone into an optimism. Yeah, well, okay, I suppose it can be that as well, because it's like that thing about.
But it's also a stepping stone into the whole kind of spiritual bypass thing as well. Yeah, all that stuff.
It is. I mean, there's a thing that one of the meta meditations I had on the phone was like, when you start, put a smile on your face straight away. I thought, this is ridiculous. Yeah. But it works. Fake it till you make it. And till you do it the first couple of times, and then you just kind of find yourself doing it anyway. And like, doing the enemy stuff now is much easier. And I'm just going back through my life and picking douchebags. I'm just going, I'm just just saying, I hope you're all right, man. We're done. Me and you's finished. It's all good. Like, it's all gravy, baby. I think a good, what's helping me at the minute, I was kind of a little, I don't know, to change my outlook. I think I kind of always had it, It just was never at the top, you know. And it's this kind of blend of Stoicism and Buddhism, of knowing that everything is temporary. Everything is obviously temporary.
Yeah,
it just has to be. Obviously, that's the nature of
impermanence.
Our reality.
Yeah,
if you want to put it that way, and the kind of thing of what the Buddhists call dukkha, and there's that in Stoicism as well, but it's not named the same.
Okay.
Yeah. But like there was, because when I came across Buddhism first, there was this thing dukkha. Dukkha means suffering. I'm like, I don't know, I don't suffer that much. I'm all right. And then I heard this one good podcast. She explained the etymology of the word. It actually comes from, her understanding of it was that it came from when the wheels on a chariot, and one of them was the axle. Was the little
trolley.
Axle?
It's every trolley you've ever played with in the supermarket.
It's a trolley, and it's like, And then she's like, well, some people call it dissatisfactoriness, and she's like, I just call it bumpy. And I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
No, bumpy is far better, because dissatisfactoriness is like, oh, well, I'm not satisfied. I deserve to be satisfied, which is nonsense.
Yeah.
You don't deserve anything. But if you have a bumpy Tesco trolley, you're like, you're trying to not hit the old lady.
I suppose it's the other thing as well. It's like it's translated dukkha. That whole thing is that life is shit or life is suffering, but it's like the actual thing is it's the truth of that there is suffering. It's not that it's all pervasive or all, even though it can certainly feel like it sometimes or whatever. Yeah. But the truth of this bumpy trolley nature that we have, and it's more. But it's that thing. It's like when you translate something into a language, like there might necessarily be an equivalent exactly, and say dukkha, that's a lovely handy little word where it's like 4 paragraphs to get to the point of the same thing in English. John Pravecki, he has an interesting thing where he doesn't want to call them the noble truths. He wants to call them and I don't think it's necessarily his initial thing, but the ennobling truths. Having these ideas will ennoble you rather than their actual laws of the world or actual truths. Like it's that case magic thing. If you see the world in this way, then you'll that's the outcome. You'll become ennobled.
Yeah, of course. And look, I think
excuse me,
from learning a bit about both things, I think they're very useful for living your life. But like, there are some kind of failings with it as well, because your strained relationship with your auntie, it's still hard to heal that, because you have 15, 20, 30 years of baggage there, where it's not like, say you've had a little falling out with your neighbour about cutting a hedge or something like that. Like, once you see past that and say, oh, look, Jesus Christ, why am I making a big thing out of this? I'll just go over there and we'll sort this out. And you can sit down over a cup of tea and you sort out the problem, and that's it.
But here's the thing. It's been okay with it if it doesn't get sorted out too. That's
oh, yeah, thing. Okay. Yeah. I can see that.
So it's like you were saying that, like, heal your auntie's thing. You might be able to, and that has to be okay too. That the hedge might have to overgrow.
Yeah, that's a very hard one to learn. It's really hard, because you've all this baggage of years of shouting at your stepdad or stepmother or cousin or your hey, come here. What's the American obsession with stepsister porn? What the fuck is going on there?
It's a weird one, like, but it's kind of I don't know. It's because, like, when it's become a meme, so it's like, it's like it's I don't know. The first time I kind of seen that was, like, remember Cruel Intentions? There's a kind of a stepbrother, stepsister kind of
Buffy and the thing,
thing. Yeah. I don't know. It's obviously a kink, or it's obviously I don't know, what's the word? A fascination that. It's not just Americans, in fairness, because I have seen porn trends in Ireland that include it too. So,
oh God, Irish stepsister does not sound sexy at all. Like,
might to an American though. But I mean, it's interesting. Any of the porn thing is like why does it's probably, I would say, it's the sense of naughtiness. involved in that, rather than the actual ancestral element of it, which is not really incest, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not incest, but it's kind of incest.
Yeah, there's a naughtiness to it. There's that kind of, that kind of people. The people are like, having sex in public places, or danger wanks or anything. It's that kind of lure of the danger of the that possibly, I don't know. Ring up Freud. Ask him. He would have a good go with this. Yeah. It's not actually your stepsister that you want to have sex with. It's your mother.
It's your mother. Yeah, of course it's your mother. Freud's mother must have been a fucking humdinger. You know that? She must have been gorgeous, like. Yeah.
Or not, or the opposite.
Come here, that thing you shared about Peter Kingsley. The review was quite good.
yeah, Cranky Kingsley. There's another one that if you want to check it, it's posted in the Peter Kingsley channel on the Discord for people who want to have a look. There's a response to kind of people do. It's just like a 7-page type of document where they kind of go forward and back from that review and his kind of thing. Well,
I presume the reviewer is it wrong, the review? Well, it's a review, so it's an opinion piece, so it can't be wrong.
It's the view of a lot of youngins, of contemporary youngins. Like even though he would say he's not a youngin, he's speaking the same or similar language or the same kind of sentiment as... That's because Kingsley says to have it all wrong. He seems to...
Well, it seems from that review that he does. It's like to say that Carl Jung was a god. Nah. No. No,
the God, Christ. Yeah.
But unless we're all God, and then that way you could do it, but not that he's the one.
But there is similar language in Ione that Jung says kind of himself along that. But it's whatever way you want to interpret it. I do not have a grasp of Jung enough to have an opinion. Other than I know that when I read Peter Kingsley books, they're mostly about Peter Kingsley rather than the subject he's talking about, which is fine. That's fine. But they're definitely about Peter Kingsley, So Uncle Pete, Cranky Kingsley. You should read some Kingsley at some point, but Catafalque is so depressing and so down, and he has so given up on Western civilization and really doesn't have any kind of he thinks he's the only person in the world who knows what he knows and can do the work he does, and has a lot of disdain for, I suppose, contemporary scholarship or people around him. There seems to be a lot of bitterness in it, but what's he bitter about? A lot of people he excluded himself from scholarly work. I think he went into the mystic side of things. It's not as if his first book is lauded, so...
Look, I've said it to you before, between me and you on Discord, and I have to put this now without pissing off everyone in England. I think there's a lot of post-colonial baggage with some English writers, and to compare it to, say, a German writer, whereas the Germans... after World War II, put their hands up and said, "Oh God, we really fucked up there."
Yeah.
Whereas the English, they still don't know the wreckage that they wrought upon the planet.
Yeah, and interesting.
They've no idea of all the blood on their hands.
There's a thing that's on I've seen on Twitter this morning where they've reintroduced an awful lot of stuff back into the English history curriculum, say, whatever, and there's kind of uproar because people are saying it's anti-English. Oh no, it's just stuff that is true, that happened, that we just didn't tell people about because we were, in a sense, I suppose, either embarrassed or wanted to clean it up. But at least there seems to be some sort of attempt now, at least by certain factors, to tell the whole story,
Hey, look, the Irish hands aren't clean either. We kind of learn about ourselves in school as this being, this airy fairy land of, we have fairies and giants and people who live in hills and everything is great. And then the English come and kill us. And kill us all, which isn't true.
What? We were... Are you going to say that's not true? Of course it's not true. It's somewhat true, though.
It's somewhat true, except it leaves out the whole pre-Christian history of us as being fucking pirates, basically. Who would just go to Wales and take people, and go to Scotland and take people. No, not Scotland. Actually, we went to Scotland because we're like, fuck it, I want to live somewhere where there's more rain. And then we populated fucking Scotland for some reason. But like, you know, the Irish aren't innocent, but you know, we've done plenty of bad stuff in our history. It's just that we got screwed over a lot by England. And it's not to pick on that subject or to get too deep into it. But just to say that when I hear people like Kingsley and a few others of that kind of
ilk
who have this kind of outlook of the dark days are coming. I don't know. I kind of have to put it down to a kind of collective unconsciousness of them having this baggage that isn't this shadow that they haven't confronted.
Yeah, I see, but like
maybe I'm wrong.
There's I don't know if like I don't know, but I'm definitely not dismissing it. I think it's a legitimate kind of thing. I don't know because I see a thing in it that I think it's kind of it's a hangover from Christian thought because that's totally apocalyptic or both or neither. But there definitely seems again go back to the thing we were talking about that you know that we have to. Feel bad about who we are, and and we, because we're sinners before God, and we deserve everything. It's that thing that I put up about the Grant Morrison, and it so encapsulates everything I ever wanted to say, but didn't have the ability to say it. It's like, is this the best we can do? Where we, where we're going to hell in a handbasket, and rightly so because we're shitty people, and we're doing it. It's just how we view ourselves, and it's like going. And he's just kind of going, well, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. And I've decided that I'm not going to accept it. But there seems to be because I remember I was sitting, I don't know, YouTube, or as I do, I watch a lot of YouTube, who doesn't? But I was like looking at the people who were getting recommended to me and who I'm subscribing to and go, why am I fucking listening to an Orthodox Christian? What am I fucking at? It's like part of me kind of knew, but at the same time I'm going like I don't agree with that, but like I'm sitting there going, oh well, maybe he's right, and fuck off with your bollocks, like Jesus Christ. I rejected you when I rejected Christian thought when I was like 12, like kind of nearly formally. So like it's just, but it's so funny that you can get caught up in this, and I definitely have an issue where I will over-accept someone's authority on subjects, even if I disagree with them. And that it would seem that their kind of opinion, if I go, well, I think the future's going to be great, and then someone, I don't know, like say go to Stuart Wilde, and he's so positive, and then he goes, no, we're all fucked. And I go, oh, jeez, I think we might be fucked. Not that, even part of me's going, no, well, I don't believe that, but he said it, and he's an authority, and he might know something more than I do. And then it doesn't pan out, because most prophetic doom porn stuff doesn't come out. Like, there's a thing that I think Alan Chapman said it, but I don't know if it's his idea, but it's like, and I'm pretty sure it's not, because I think it's something that John Dee or Edward Kelly just kind of has a thing of it as well, that the kind of place where we are now and the kind of feelings we have now and the kind of relationship we have with the world and the turmoil that's going on and all that, it's always like this. It's never not like this.
Yeah.
So it's like there's always that kind of, you can decide that the future is bright, the future is worse, but it's never not going to be in a sense like this. It's like that thing of the Buddhist stuff of that, it's not necessarily Buddhist, but the grasping thing of thinking, when I get the car, that'll be different. That I'll make it. And you get the car and you're still in the same place. You're still the same thing. Now you want the house and now you want the thing, so it's like that, so that you have to become all right with this, the right where you are now, that thing where you don't have everything, where the world's shit, where there's things going on, where there's great things going on, wonderful things going on, where you have, your child saying he's happy, and you have, war over here, famine over here, you have great, strides on defeating poverty over there, and it's all kind of this whole thing, and it's never going to not be that. So you can decide that that's good or bad, or you can decide to shun it or to awaken from it or whatever. But at some point, you're going to have to just accept it and be okay with it. Yeah. And that's kind of where I am trying to, because I think that you have to start there, right? I mean, and it's so the cliche, be here now, man. Be in the moment. But I didn't really understand that because I thought that was just be in the moment. Me and you, that's it. That's what's happening there. But it's be in the moment with all of the things. Yeah. That's how I kind of see it now.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
next week I might be all depressed again, back reading Kingsley, going, "Oh, he was right, we're fucked. Let's give up on humanity."
No, man. No. I agree with you. I'm like that as well. It's just accepting, right? This is how it is, right? And if it's a problem, right? How do we fix it? How do we try and fix it? Or if you can't fix it, just say, "Oh well, all right." Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, the response to that is that if it's not happening to you, you know,
it's hard to get there. Because I know, Tommie, I know you so well. I know the last 2 months for you have been fucking miserable.
Yeah, miserable
in your head. I know it has.
Mm.
But like, what can you do? Like, as a friend, you're just like, "Ah, man, I'm here for you if you want me."
Yeah.
But like, I know as well that most people when they go through that, well, I don't know if it's a Dark Night of the Soul type of thing. Most people don't want help with it. They're kind of like, "Nah, I have to do this myself." Like,
yeah, but
and you
it.
did.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's the thing. Like, I mean, day one, you says, "Don't listen to Joe, Tommie. Don't do that. You don't need that." But it's like, no, I have to. But it's thing. Go back to the Ken Wilber kind of. I go back to talking about Ken Wilber because we were talking off air about him. That's a real radio thing. You know, we were talking off air about him. But he has that whole thing of the pre-post. Or pre-trans fallacy thing, whatever. It's a thing where that before something you can have an opinion. So say have an opinion. Oh, Jonathan Pageau, and then you go through all of Jonathan Pageau's videos, and along the way you have a journey, and then at the end you have the same opinion as you do at the beginning, but it's a different opinion because it's informed. It just looks the same, but you understand it more. So it's like for you to say, "Oh, I just don't watch them." I go, "Well, I can't. I have to understand that I shouldn't watch them." That's the kind of the nature. He says you can have that in all kind of where say you have mystical versions of Christianity can look at the end as the same, but it's different because the understanding has become different.
Here,
the same thing of before Enlightenment chop wood, carry water. After Enlightenment chop wood, carry water. That's exact same thing.
Here, I'm making faces here because my SD card is showing an error here, so I don't know if it's. Have you got stuff? Is it Zoom?
Well, we have Zoom anyway. Yeah, so. Yeah.
No. I think this is fucked. I can try and create a new file, but like we're 45 minutes in, like.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Like, I mean, it's Zoom has it anyway. So I mean, at the end of the day,
Zoom has it. So okay. Yeah. So I'll just start a new file if you want to mix. 1, 2. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it seems to be all right now. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe the first file will be fucked. I don't know. So sorry. But the Zoom is there anyway. Yeah?
It is what it is. This is where we are.
Yeah, it is what it is. This is where we are. Exactly. Yeah, that's what the world is telling us. Come on, sure. We'll do this documentary.
Yeah. So, A Glitch in the Matrix. This is the same guy, and I should have wrote his name down, but I forgot it, who did Room 237, which is my favourite documentary of all time. I just thought it was just so well put together that it was full of really interesting ideas that we should all bring on board, and not a rubbish documentary. His second documentary was called The Nightmare, which I really, really liked, even though, again, it's kind of speculative based just on people that had no dissenting voices, blah 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 blah. No, it's still, but it's good and it's creepy, and it's the production is much different from Room 237 in that it's not really that YouTubey style, where it has clips of films. It has actual talking heads. It has recreated scenes. He obviously had a bit more of a budget. So I was interested then when he says, well, he's going to do A Glitch in the Matrix, and I wasn't expecting much from this at all, I have to say. I thought it was going to be a kind of a very YouTubey Mandela effect. Oh, Bernstein Bears, C-3PO, Silver Leg, or whatever, this kind of stuff, and maybe a bit around, Elon Musk saying, whoa, the chances of us being in base reality is, billions. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a documentary. I didn't buy it. I'm not convinced of simulation theory by the end of it. Just because my brain's going in the complete opposite direction in that, no, let's have a look at things being actual real. But when it started, and it starts with interviews with people, and they're what's the generous way that they're computer generated avatars. and really weird ones. And at first I was going, all right, I have him sussed. Like Room 37, he is taking the piss out of these people. But it changes fairly quick where he's not. Then I was going, oh, well, obviously, because we're talking about simulation theory, that he's going to interview people who have, like, so we put them as avatars to hide their identity. But then he tells people tell them who
their
they
names.
are. So I don't understand that choice.
It's very strange, isn't it?
Yeah,
I sent you that. I put that in the Discord. Like that's the first 30 seconds of the film. I'm like, tell me what the fuck is this?
Yeah. I found it odd.
I just thought, what the hell is? Well, there's one really funny one where he gets the guy who what's he done? He's like weird something as well. He redrew someone's comic, but changed all the characters to Snoopy and Peanuts characters.
Oh yeah, it's Moebius. Yeah, that's Jodorowsky's main collaborator on his comics. By the way, Moebius.
No idea who you're talking about. Tell me. Sorry.
Alejandro Jodorowsky. Remember the guy? Who got
your man, the Mexican Polish guy. Oh, yeah, sorry. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then like the interviewer's like trying to be like, oh yes, you're a professional. He's like, no, I'm a special needs teacher. But he puts him in this like big fat spaceship thing where he looks like the fat guy off that old South Park one, the gamer guy. Playing League of Legends, and it's like if I was interviewed by him and he made a CGI of me look like that, I'd be like, get me the fuck out of your film, you motherfucker.
Yeah, and I'm also convinced that the backgrounds he used obviously aren't real either. Like the place where he puts them in, because the avatar don't sit well. So I think the whole thing is kind of fabricated. What I'm guessing is that he went on to a Glitch in the Matrix Reddit subforum and said, I want to interview some people, and perhaps there were audio things.
That's what it looks like.
But even that he doesn't give their names, in documentaries go, Paddy, journalist, whatever, when it gives some sort of thing, it doesn't do it. So even the actual real people, the actual famous celebrity, I don't know, informed people, professionals, whatever, he doesn't name. So you have to, like, other than the fact that I recognised two of them, I wouldn't know who they were. Like, did you know that your man with the beard was Eric Davis, the guy who wrote that book that we read?
The exegesis book thing.
The Technosis.
Yeah, I recognised the voice, but only because I listened to the audiobook. I didn't read it. I listened to it.
And I know Chris Ware because I know who Chris Ware is, but
and Philip K. Dick obviously as well.
Obviously, yeah, but like there's no getting. I think they explain Philip K. Dick, don't they? They did say this is Philip K. Dick. Maybe they don't. Maybe I just because I know.
I know they do. They say that, but like, it's the Philip K. Dick stuff is very strange because it's like, well, Philip K. Dick was in Metz in France, and he was supposed to be there for an hour or two to talk about his films, but he just didn't. And he spoke about how we're all living in simulation because of the visions he had. And, okay, that's kind of cool. But, I don't know.
Yeah, like Philip, they kind of don't mention that the man took an awful lot of drugs, which they seem to don't like mentioning.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, look, Philip K. Dick, for all his greatness, he was a paranoid drug addict.
Yeah.
He was. Just like Hunter S. Thompson was a paranoid drug addict as well, who also was a great writer. So, like, I don't know.
I'll say one thing about it. I know very little about Philip K. Dick other than Eric Davis' book. A couple of people talking about him, and I've seen Blade Runner. I've seen all the films that we've all seen, but he comes across more interesting in this than I have seen him in anything else. I hadn't seen that press conference thing before. But then, he also has a thing where he's living.
But not only that
he's living in Roman times as well, simultaneously. Which is, how do you work that out?
In the press conference, all the French people look bored off their tits. They're like, going, what the fuck is this guy on about? We're here to listen to him talk about Blade Runner. And he's talking about being there when Jesus died and shit. Like, come on, man.
And it's that thing where
Harrison Ford is like.
He's to read it's 74, so it's pre all that, isn't it? So he hasn't even, none of that has even been made
yet. Of course, yeah.
So he's reading it out, and then 2 seconds later, then the French guy has to translate it.
He has to translate it as well.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't he do it in America? Probably because the American audience would have just stood up and said, "Get the fuck out! What the fuck?"
Or he just decided that's where he's going. I'd say it's very interesting. I'd say he's a person I will enjoy people talking about more than I will enjoy his. I'm probably never going to read Exogenous or whatever that his book is. It's too long.
Sounds too rambling. I mean, I'm glad I listened to that book, that you sent me about it rather than reading it because it just sounds too rambly and weird. And like they did a dissertation on it, and even their reading of it, it's hard. It's a hard book to listen to. Yeah. You know.
Well, no, the first two bits are quite good. The Terence McKenna and the Robert Anton Wilson's grants. When it gets into the Phil K. Dick stuff,
no, it's good. It's just it's very strange and weird, and it's. I don't know. It's like I know I name drop the book every fucking week now at this stage. That Robert Johnson one, that work. Like since reading that book about what visions or what active imagination is and how to work with it and how to interpret your dreams. Ever since then, whenever I hear of someone who talks about their visions or their dreams, I can't see them how they've seen them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you were to tell me a dream you had yesterday now, and you said, I think it means this, because of the book, I'd be like, no, you're looking at that the wrong way. You need, you know what I mean? I'll give you an example here, right? Last week when we were away, Aga had another dream about me cheating on her, right?
All right.
And not like a sexy one where like, a girl comes in and we're like, woohoo, let's experiment, baby. No, and she had like more or less a similar dream the last time we were down there. And I was explaining to her the first time, I was like, no, look, this woman represents something, some part of you or some part of the environment. And that's what that is. And you think that I'm going to run off with that because that's another representation of something that's either inside you or in your environment thing. And so she had exactly a similar dream last week, and she's like, "That's what it is. You're right. It's that this woman is it's the area is called Bishada. She's like, this is the woman. Like I'm scared that I'm going to lose you to this place.
Oh,
you're gonna move down there." And you're going to leave me for there. And I'm like, no, I mean, but yeah, that's what the dream is, So, I mean, thank God I read that book. Like, fucking, and Morgan bought it for me. Because now, like, when someone does tell me a dream, or you're watching something on YouTube or podcast or whatever, and they're talking about vision, because I've always had a thing where I've just had this thing for years where someone talks about a prophetic dream, and I could never really buy it because I'm just not convinced people can see the future. Nothing has ever convinced me. Like, okay, Nostradamus, but like, yeah, if you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick eventually. And like, how difficult is it to predict there'll be a great war and many people will die? Well, yeah. We're humans. That's what happens. We're terrible to each other.
Yeah, there is that kind of idea that the prophetic stuff is not really it's to make when the thing happens that you're able to understand it more rather than it's trying to, get you to avoid it or in a sense predict it. Yeah. But I don't know. Like, come back to Stuart Wilde, he'd made a series load of predictions. Not one of them's true. Not one. None of them.
Yeah, so then maybe they weren't. Maybe they shouldn't have been. Prophetic, his understanding of prophetic, but they should have been a kind of thing where it's something about what's going on in his life at the minute. Like, there's this thing with I still haven't gotten into the fucking I Ching, and I mentioned it on the Duncan podcast as well. I have these cards, I have this book, I just haven't got into it yet, and I'm like, why did I get them? I should read them, but there's the thing about the I Ching is that they won't tell you the future. They're not for telling you the future. They're for telling you now. Which I think is probably the best thing about them, because even when I'm doing tarot with herself and all, I'm just like, I don't really like, maybe it's a shadow thing or something that I don't really want to know the future.
No, I don't want to know the future, but I don't do divinations as predictive anyway. And it's funny, at the end of the last divinations video that I did this week, I have a spiel about that, in that it's see it as a different perspective that you wouldn't normally take. That's it. That's that, like advice from a friend who isn't a god, who doesn't speak, But just, I suppose the prophetic thing is, it means to speak on behalf of. We have kind of changed it to predicting. It's like prophetic is you're speaking on behalf of the divine, rather than saying I'm prophetically telling you the future, which is what we now think that word means. Which mean that is what that word means because that's how we use it. But classically, I suppose it means that.
Well, then, so that would mean then what I'm saying is that like people should treat their visions not as something what's going to happen, but something that is happening.
Or it can inform you about something that will happen, but you can't know what it's informing you until that thing happens.
Yeah, until it happens, yeah.
So if you say, I predict that you're going to, you get a vision of a black-haired woman with snakes. And you go, well, what's that's about? And then next week you meet a woman and you go, oh, this is telling me about this now. But it wasn't, in a sense, predicting the woman. I have an understanding of what's going on. That's the idea of the propheticness, rather than you trying to work out what the black woman with snakes is. You'll know when it happens, kind of thing. But again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if people can do that.
No, it makes sense.
Why not?
Look, man, usually the most logical explanation is the correct one. Usually. Yeah, look, back to this film.
The scientist guy, the Oxford guy who came up with the simulation theory, he explains
Nick Bostrom.
Yeah, he explains his three things, and I have to say, he doesn't explain his own theory well. I've heard him explain it. Him on YouTube explaining it way better than what he does. He seems to, I don't know, unless he's changed it more recently. The general thing is right. So one, there's three likely outcomes. One, civilizations that get advanced enough that they could make a simulation die before that happens.
Right.
One, so it doesn't happen. Two,
so we're not in a simulation. Okay.
We're not. Yeah. No, because there might be other civilizations. But
they're
only likely.
Okay.
So no, but like in the first one, it's still allowing other civilizations, but most of them don't. So that's happening. Number two, out of those that do survive, some of them will decide not to make simulations.
Yeah.
Three, out of those that are left, they will make simulations. And therefore, that's still billions of people or billions of civilizations making billions of simulations. And so therefore, the chance of us being in a simulation or being in a base thing, you're more likely to be in the simulation. That's the theory. That statistically, you're more likely to be in a simulation than you're not.
No, but there's three options there, and two of them are that we aren't in the simulation.
Yeah, and so is the third one is that we mightn't be in a simulation. It's just saying that statistically we are more likely to be in a simulation than you're not. That's kind of the crux of it.
Yeah, but
given the vastness of the universe.
No, then I haven't understood you properly because two. So you have three options, 33% each, okay?
Yeah, but the first two we're just talking about advanced civilizations. We're not talking about simulation. So the first one is, if there is an advanced civilization, a lot of them die before they could make a simulation. That's just thrown, So that doesn't tell us whether we're in a simulation or not.
Yeah, it does. It tells us that we're not in a simulation.
No, because there's other advanced civilizations that would have made it. It's not. So if you have advanced civilizations that die off before they could make a simulation, you still have advanced civilizations that didn't. So it's not negating the entire simulation thing. It's just saying that some of them will have not made it that far. That's the idea.
Yeah, but we could say that we haven't made it that far then.
Yeah, but we're not advanced civilization.
We're very advanced.
Yeah, but we're not advanced enough that we could make a civilization or make a simulation.
Of course we are. We have simulations. We have
to the level of this. To the level of what if the Matrix? We couldn't make the Matrix. That's the idea. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just trying to explain it.
Yeah. But the thing is, sorry, no, I'll come back to that one. I'm going to write down something here that I'll come back to. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number two then.
That some will make it far enough to make simulations. So you have ones that don't, those that do. Right. And so then those that do, some of them will decide not to make simulations. Just won't, because it's not something they're interested in.
Yeah, okay. I get you.
Some of them will. And given that the vastness of what, the infinity of these civilizations, there's more of a chance that they'll make more than one simulation. They'll make loads. So you have infinite advanced civilizations making an infinite amount of simulations. So the chances of you being in a simulation is much more likely than not.
Right. I get you.
Yeah.
The problem is that in 2017, they proved by using quantum doohickeys.
Yeah, but the problem is that they're basing that on the simulation. That's the answer to that, is that we couldn't make a simulation, but that's basing it on what we are finding within the simulation.
Exactly. Okay, but this is a bit like Immanuel Kant's thing of, or which is a Cartesian thing of, I think, therefore I am. Right?
Yeah.
But Kant's thing is, and what's misunderstood about him is that, Kant is the father of modern logic, because I think, therefore I am, therefore everything is real. All right. But then in later years, Kant was like,
is that not Descartes? Is that I think, therefore I am? No. Anyway, so your point still stands.
Whichever one it is, I think it's Kant, but it's in. I might be mixing them up because Kant and Descartes are very close to each other in those Vervaeke films.
Yeah.
Says that no, it's not that I think, therefore I am, and then everything is logical and reasonable and yada yada yada. It means that I use the computer in my brain to think, and I use that to. And that tells me that I am because I use that. But there's a whole load of other stuff we've no fucking idea about.
Yeah.
Do you know? So...
and even going to the kind of Brad Borman video I posted recently, which I thought was great, because like, when you say that the world is an illusion, that also includes the person, the brain processing that. The person, so it's the entirety. You are also the illusion. It's not the illusion and you're situated in it. It's all of that.
Yeah. It's not that you're looking in, like. You're not watching it, like you're.
So it's like you think you can see the illusion. No, you are the fucking illusion.
No, you are the illusion. Exactly. Yeah. A lot of people don't make that connection. You know. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't all that convinced about the documentary, but like it got better as it went along. But it's
there was an interesting thing that your man says that we used to. His teacher was saying that when we thought that. Life was like this, that we had this view of the world, and then when we got electricity we noticed neurons, but now that we have computers we know that it's done like a computer. And he goes, so when we come up with the next theory, will we change? He went, no, it's computers, it's definitely computers. You've learned nothing, woman.
Yeah, no, it's nonsense, like, that's a good point that he made. He made the teacher look silly, I mean, like, there's a few of the talking heads in it. Like, he's good, the guy that's the lion. There's the astronaut guy who's very strange. Then there's the other guy who's the brain in the helmet, and he tells
the vaping guy.
No, yeah, he's the astronaut. And then there's the guy with the brain in the helmet. He looks like the
oh no, yeah.
He looks like the guy who gets his arms cut off in 'Tis but a scratch in Monty Python. And he tells this very bizarre story. Mexico, how he was in a car crash and the car fell 1,000 feet and all he cracked was some ribs. I'm like, yeah, buddy, sure, yeah, of course, that's definitely a true story.
The 1,000 feet thing is very weird. It went a mile in the air. Did it?
Yeah, did it really?
Well, it's not 1,000 feet. What's 1,000 feet? Mile is what, 11 or something?
1,000 feet is what, 333 meters. That's a big fucking skyscraper.
Yeah.
No, it isn't 1,000 feet a mile. Yeah, it is a mile.
No, it's not, because 1,000 they don't have weird.
I know, it's 12. The other way.
Yeah. 12 and a half shillings is a mile.
Shillings and doohickeys. What's the spurlocks or whatever the fucking. So I didn't believe him at all, and there was something that what did I write here about him?
Well, not that even if you believe him, I don't think his story informs anything. I mean, I've had many a story of I've been out at night drunk and it would seemingly, and we just got away from the cops and they didn't see it. Like what does that tell me about the universe? I mean,
he says one of his things that he thinks proves that this is all a simulation is because he has this thing about the 6 degrees of separation, and he says that basically it boils down to the 6 degrees of separation is because there's not enough computing power in this simulation that we're in to put people further away than that, and which isn't true at all. Like, the reason for 6 degrees of separation is because, like, when we go back to the bottleneck of civilization a couple of thousand years ago, we're all just kind of like 12 or 13 13th cousins removed from each other.
I thought he meant the 6 degree separation was that everyone knows everyone else and that there are literally only 2,000 real people in the world or something like that, not 2,000 or whatever. I thought that was more the point he was making. And everyone else is non-player characters. And that's why everyone seems to know each other, or at least have some
No. He wasn't making the NPC thing. That was a little bit later, but he was saying that there's the reason that everyone seems to know each other is because there's not enough computing power
No,
for
I get that,
for it to be that everyone doesn't possibly know each other. He didn't say that 12. What's the population? 6 billion people were. The other people are NPCs. At every. Sorry, there's not enough computing power.
Your mic's gone.
There's not enough computing power for. I have to. My phone is ringing here. I have to.
All right, sorry.
What do you call it? Decline it. There's not enough computing power for it to run all of these 6 degrees of separation for 6 billion people. You know.
Right. Yeah.
So.
You all right?
Yeah. I know. I'm just trying to think here, and I'm trying to think, why is she ringing me? Like, she's literally downstairs. She could just come up. You know. Come here. The Matrix comes up a lot in the film, and like, I don't know, man. Has that film done more harm than good?
That's literally was going to be my point. I think the Matrix ruined everything. It's certainly like. I'm going to bang on about Stuart Wilde again because that's who I've been listening to a lot recently. He changed where he went dark is once he's seen the Matrix, and it's I can only think it's because it instilled the idea in it that there's something wrong. That whole thing I've been talking about, that it made, because up to that he was very Gaia, very Earth. He gets back Gaia at the end, but and then the Matrix. Even Kingsley talks about the Matrix in one of his talks about
that's right,
the impact he has in it. I don't know. I mean, it's a great film. I love it. I really enjoyed it. But I also think it fell prey for the whole premise of it. You know, that thing, and it's definitely
just
changed
the film,
the new
though.
age.
You know what I mean?
I know,
Like,
but it's one thing. I suppose people would say, well, why did it kind of resonate with so many people? It's obviously speaking the truth, which, you know, fair point. It's the old Gnostic tale. It's the story we've literally been telling ourselves from the beginning of time. So you can go, well, maybe there's some truth in it. Yeah, or maybe we have it wrong from the beginning. You know, and this is a lot of our problems. And it came at the right time. I mean, like, Dark City is a couple of years previous to it, which is exactly the same kind of
that's Kiefer
outlook.
Sutherland, isn't it?
And same idea, whatever.
That's a good one.
But it didn't have the same impact in the way that the Matrix did. You know, the Invisibles have an awful lot of the same kind of ideas in response to, you know, the same kind of thing, and that was, it's 94. But it definitely changed the entire new age, and it not for the better, I wouldn't say. Like, it's changed how everyone kind of
and plus, like, everyone
viewed the world.
In all these, you know, woo circles, they all only reference the first film. Like, what about the other two?
Well, I remember Gordon White had a really good. He says everyone thinks the Matrix, the first Matrix, is your life, but it's actually the two shitty sequels that are your life.
That's funny. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. The second one had the great stunt scene on the
motorbike.
On the motorbikes, yeah. And
Ken Wilber reckons the 2 and 3 are the better films. He does the director's commentary on them, if anyone wants to ever.
Ken Wilber on the DVDs, you're joking?
He does it, yeah.
That's mad. Okay, no, I don't remember 2 and 3. I remember the Animatrix.
Yeah.
Because we used to watch that a good bit, but I don't remember 2 and 3 at all. I probably don't remember 1 properly either, you know. To be honest, it's so long ago.
I've seen it recently. I went to the 20th anniversary cinema.
Does it still hold up? Is it still good?
Brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it holds up. It has all the same bits where you went in the first time you've seen it, but you know it's definitely that scene in the hallway where they're all shooting and the pillars, and you go, well, it's definitely cardboard. There's no question that that's styrofoam. You know what I mean? But it looked like that 20 years ago.
I don't know. Look, I mean, personally, I think simulation theory is just too much of a easy get out for people who aren't enjoying their lives.
Exactly. But they miss the point of the fact that if it is the simulation, you are also a simulation. You're not waking up somewhere else. You're not Neo plugged into the Matrix. You are the simulation. So if the simulation ends, there's nowhere you're going. But it does seem to be a need that people think that they want, my real life over there in heaven, in the Nebuchadnezzar, wherever it is, and I'll get there someday.
And I think putting in the thing about the murder case was interesting, because that was to say, like, this is where belief in this stuff can lead,
which was good because that was the first kind of dissenting voice that he's had in his documentaries that I can remember. Is he that, you know, that's like, is it a psychologist that he doesn't tell you, that woman who starts talking like she's a psychologist about your man's case. A couple of things about your man's case is that he seems to want to make the point, because there's the big line where he goes, I was watching violent video games or playing violent video games and watching violent TV shows, so that it's or films. So he seems to have been, you know, there's pushing that it was, you know, the games that you distracted me with your camera movements.
Sorry,
do it. So like there's that kind of thing, which has been proven that it doesn't. You know, that it won't. You know, like, but at the same time, if you already have an imbalance, could these things tip you over the edge? She said, yes, I have to assume they would. Like if you have some sort of mental proclivity towards darkness, listening to dark music, and like, you know yourself when you're sad and you broke up with your wife or your woman, whatever it is, a thing, and you listen to sad music, you resonate with it more. You know, it accentuates and deepens it. And so if you're already feeling violent, playing violent games, watching violent things, is naturally going to, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that the studies have shown that it doesn't turn non-violent people violent. That's, I think,
of course,
the thing.
Yeah. And like, there's the thing that, I mean, they show this kid who's like he had this very strange obsession with the Matrix. Like, he'd watch it back to back 2-3 times a day sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
He says that like he walked into one of those goth shops, bought a trench coat, and like picked it up and he could feel it was alive. And he said he says like really weird shit, like it almost became like his girlfriend. It's fucking trench coat. Like,
when he walked through the shopping centre, he liked that people, it made them uncomfortable, that he made them uncomfortable when he was wearing it. And
I mean, you like that? You like making, that's not right. And then,
well, I suppose it's one sense of way of having power over people. You know, if you've been, if you feel diminished by society or life, whatever it is, and then you get this magical item that allows you to have power over people, you know.
Yeah, and like he says that like he was watching the film one day, and this is such a bizarre scene in the documentary. Like, he says that he walked into he was so convinced that he was living this way, and he was stuck in this simulation, that he walked into his parents' bedroom, picked up the
phone
landline, and spoke like Keanu Reeves' final monologue from the film into the thing, saying like, I know you're there, I know you're listening, I don't want this world. Yeah, whatever the monologue is.
He changes one word in it, which is interesting. He changes us to me, which is quite revealing. Yeah.
And then he goes back into his room and gets the shotgun that he bought and kills his parents, his adopted parents, who he says were abusing him. And even though in the courtroom, there was no evidence that he was ever abused by his foster parents at all.
Bullied at school and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, there's just no evidence of that at all. And then, but there is evidence that mental health, schizophrenia had ran in his family, his blood family. So, it's a horrible story, because if that had been known, he could have been treated properly, you know. And it comes out as well in the article, the news article that I looked up, that he had this thing, he had an obsession about becoming a Marine, and he didn't get into the Marines because, like, obviously the Marines don't want psychopaths. Or
certain type of psychopath, maybe.
No, they don't want people. No, they can't. Look, the Marines can't have people with mental illnesses. Yeah. As much as I hate armies and soldiers and all that kind of stuff, you know, you have to have people who are able for the horrible stuff they're going to do. Yeah. You know, you can't have people who are schizophrenic joining up. So he went off, got like eye corrective surgery, and still didn't get in. And he's like, just falls deeper and deeper into depression. Keeps watching The Matrix more, convinced he's, you know, in this thing. I feel my heart goes out to him, because like, to be in that situation where your mind has poisoned itself to make it think that it's part of this film entertainment. Like, what the fuck is wrong with our brains that we do that to ourselves?
It's not that. Let me see. It's not that not the outcome, but the outcome can be similar to a religious belief, to believing in the Bible or believing in thing, and that has ended with shooting people a couple of times.
Course,
has it not?
Yeah, of course.
Believing you're part of that story or whatever, and it's and it's easy to kind of dismiss and throw things, say, oh, entertainment and thing, but when you're like, the thing about the Matrix though is that it's based on so much, stories that we, archetypical stories. It's the same stories that are in the Bible, that are in, whatever, any number of things. Joseph Campbell talks about it. Same one that's in Star Wars, same in all these things, other than it has that extra Gnostic element of, the simulation or not the real world, the demiurge stuff, all of that kind of things. But so I think it's a bit, while it's easy to go, getting lost in entertainment, it's a thing we do. We get lost in, and I don't want to say necessarily fantasy.
Well, myths, stories.
That kind of stuff. And it shows how dangerous it is, but also can show the level of how, if you have a positive archetype, a positive thing, if a person to aspire to, or not a person, an archetype to aspire to, how powerful that equally could be transformative, or that kind of thing. But
could you imagine?
I wasn't expecting that. Sorry, go on.
But could you imagine, say, me and you tried to make some telly together, and could you imagine that it had come out, and then someone gets that obsessed about it and kills it? Could you imagine how horrible you fucking feel?
Yeah, but this is the fixer told me to pull my eye out. It's, I
suppose, it's exactly the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's Marilyn Manson and the Columbine shooters. I know Marilyn Manson's gone through his own little thing at the minute. He's been in the news, but they didn't listen to Marilyn Manson at the time, and even if they did, is he to blame for it? You know what I mean? It's like. But he got the blame for it, and there's so many things. But what if you did something? It's like that. The two things. I think there was a taxi driver defense that is mentioned. That I assume someone watched Taxi Driver and killed someone, and the defense was that he got caught up in the film, because they also talk about the Matrix defense, which is what they were going to do in this case. But your man himself, I think his name is Joshua Cook, not the comedian, but. The serial killer, who he didn't go for it in the end, but it's like that's one of my, I don't know, biggest fears is doing something that someone then takes too far, is inspired by, in some way feels it's right to do something horrific. I don't know. Even when I was going down to when I had COVID. And, you're going, well, geez, I could have seen my mum, and then, that affects her, and she, say she died or she got sick or whatever. There's they're not coming back from that. So it's like someone did something horrifying in the name of my comic or the 40 Servants or the podcast, something we said on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I'd delete everything immediately and never come back online. I don't think I'd recover from that. I don't think I would. No, I don't know how anyone would. Yeah. Well, and then you have the other side of things where you have people very happily will incite other people to do things, and so far don't seem to have any kind of, well, in some cases don't have comeuppance on it.
Old Donnie there, just I didn't do anything. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be too sensitive. I'd be like you. I'd be too sensitive. I wouldn't be able for it. I'd be just horrified and mortified that my film caused someone to do, not caused, was part
a big of the
factor,
story.
was a big factor in someone doing something horrific. I'd do a KLF, man. I would just take that film off and say, no, that's it. No one's allowed to watch this anymore. Because, I don't know. It's sometimes you get into discussions with your friends or whatever, relatives about, I've had it a few times here, about how the roads aren't good enough and they should spend more money on the roads. No, they should build it instead, or whereas we'll have more tax. And I was like, okay, we'll have more tax. Yeah, well, I'll have to pay, whatever. Say another 50 million euros is needed to do that. I was like, yeah, is that not worth a life?
Yeah.
No one can argue against that. How can they? Huh? Well, they do. Sure, we see it during the pandemic. Countries have put their economies before public health, and it's disgusting.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's like a great thing on Twitter, Reddit, one of these things where someone put up, if we never had fire brigades, fire service, whatever, and we decided, someone says, well, we think we should probably have a fire service, whatever, go, what? So that I have to pay if someone else's house is burnt down? I don't fucking think so. Wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? It's like, really? But it's true.
Yeah.
But that would be the response. Like, there's no question of that. But
Well,
I suppose the economy response
Tommie,
is that the failing economy also can result in loss of lives.
yeah, well, the thing is, Tommie, it would be, but it would only be that response on social media because it's the people who are against stuff who are the loudest. Like, if you put that choice to actually the majority of people in a secret ballot, everyone would be, not everyone, but the vast majority would say, yeah, of course we should have a fire brigade and free health system.
So. Yeah.
Look, I've completely changed my view on people. I think people are good. They just need a chance to be good.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing for people would be just to spend less time watching news and reading websites and listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
No,
Get
but
off Twitter. Get off Facebook.
no, but there's a
Come to
great
Discord.
thing.
Come to Discord.
There's a great passage in. So I'm reading Aurelius's Meditations. There's a great thing in it. He says that I have to paraphrase it now because obviously I don't know it word for word. But he's like, one of the best things you can do is to retreat into yourself. And even though like you can be tempted by going off on holidays to the country, and he points to himself, he's like, and you're very fond of doing this yourself, but the best place, like the book is basically just him giving out to himself about how he's not as good a person as he wants to be. I mean, it's very, very good, but at the same time, it's very much written from the point of view of a man who's in his 60s or so, who knows he doesn't have much longer left on the planet kind of thing, But he goes on to say, like, one of the best places you can be is to go into your mind and to learn. That's fucking fascinating for me, absolutely. And I kind of have to agree with him. It is like you just go into your head and say, why did I act like that? What way should I? How could I have done it better? Or if it happens again, what will I do? Do you know? And there's a thing, like, we kind of have this idea that you learn from experience, and it's not quite. I read it somewhere else. I think Seneca said it as well. I think he said, no, you don't learn from experience. You learn from doing stuff from experience, but you need to reflect on it as well. Because otherwise, that's just fucking wow. Yeah, definitely. That's so fucking true. Like, and we don't quite see things like that. It's kind of like, okay, well, I did it, so now I know how to do it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, do you? Do you really?
Yeah.
You know.
Have you got the full ramifications of that event gone over your brain? Yeah.
Exactly. It's a good thing. I don't know, man. It's actually, look, like I said to you, I think the world is fine. I think people are good. They just need. I think if more of us put more good faith in people, we'd see better things.
I think the spirit of the times, or the zeitgeist, whatever way you want to do it, is definitely negative, and that it's heavy and it's all that. But I think that's a story we're telling each other rather than it's actually the truth of it. I
think so too, man.
And
I really think so.
And if you look at the Edward Bernays stuff and go back to that, manufactured seems to be, but we do have a history of believing in things that tell us that everything is about the end. We only enjoy that because we think that means that it's going to get ultimately rewarded. We're all sinners, the world is going to end, but your reward will be great in heaven. The end of Western civilization, I don't know, whatever the next thing is. But I think I have more faith in humanity today than I did for the last 2 months, and it's just because my head was in the wrong place. Absolutely. Yeah. And Aubrey Marcus that we were talking about, that guy who did the Vikings interview. There's a great line in that. There's a great line in that, and I really took it to heart, where he goes, when you're looking at something and you're trying to validate it for yourself or whatever, you ask yourself the questions: is this making me more scared or more expansive? Am I contracting or am I unfolding? And if you're contracting, it's not for you. But I don't fully agree. Like sometimes you do have to look at stuff that contracts you to get to thing. But as a general kind of rule of thumb or heuristic, I think it's a good thing. And I find an awful lot of things I've surrounded myself recently with are contracting me and not letting unfold. And I think the creativity, the spirituality, the magic, all of these things is about unfolding. And if I start seeing myself contracting, that I should probably, try.
Ooh, Tommie, Aeon's prophecy is coming true, Tommie. I can see that fucking tulip opening, baby. Woo!
There you go. But that's it. It's like the, if it's a prophetic thing, then you don't understand it till it happens. And it informed you at the time it happens. Whereas the thing, but Duncan talks about, he's saying that it makes a good point. He says that all of these things are fine and the prophecies and talking to spirits, whatever, but they have to, I don't know what his exact words are, but they have to, they have to be expanding you. They have to be doing something that's making you greater or better than where you were the previous thing. I think that's a great outlook. And I loved his thing, well, spirits don't exist. They need you to exist. I was going, wow! Truth bomb!
They don't exist.
Wow,
That's
Pierre Grimes talks about like enlightening experiences. He says we have them all the time, and we then make decisions about life because of them, and so like something that happened to you when you were a kid is an enlightenment experience, although it might be a negative thing that you've learned come to the wrong conclusion. But that in a very kind of enlightenment experience with Duncan and that thing was like, not in the great abiding awakening and I understand life to be an illusion or a simulation, but just like going, that's it, that's the thing, there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It was great to talk to him. Yeah. And after I was finished doing the thing, I was like, I didn't ask him nearly enough questions. But then again, I went into it. I only had about 8 questions written out because they were the ones that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
But listening back, and then after, I was like, I should have asked him this. I should have asked him that. I should have asked him that. And like, it is what it is, Yeah. And everyone's happy with it. I'm happy with it. He was happy with it.
And I'm sure you'll talk to him again. Like, it's not the last.
Oh God, I hope so. Yeah. Absolutely, hope so. Now the next challenge is to get Chapman on because he's a book coming out. So.
Yeah, I assume the thing
he must listen. Just ask him. Listen? I know. I keep putting it off because I'm nervous of asking them because I have him and Duncan on such fucking pedestal, and I shouldn't have them on a pedestal. They're lovely lads. I should just fucking man up, Spud. And now I've said it on public fucking podcast. Now I have to, don't I?
Yeah.
And I've said it's like a load of people. I'm like, I gotta ask Alan. And they're like, ask him. I'm like, grow up here, Spud, will you? Jesus Christ.
Well, I suppose the thing to ask is, what is the contraction around this? What is the thing you're fearing? Because I mean, the very worst he can go is fuck off, and he's not. Well, you might as a joke, but like all he could say is no.
Well, exactly,
And that thing is, you already have a no because you don't have one on your podcast.
Because I already have it in my head because anyway, so it's grand. Like. Fucking idiot, huh? We're awful. We're so useless.
Yeah. But
as
brilliant.
People. But like, at least I don't know. At least me and you were getting better. You know what I mean?
We're trying
that's
anyway.
the fucking idea. Well, yeah, but sure, even trying is first step. Like just keep trying. You get there in the end. I'm gonna die anyway. Memento mori. I like that from the Stoics. You're gonna die.
Yeah,
and I like it. What I like about it is it's not the nihilism of carpe diem. It's not fucking fuck everyone over because your last day and tell your stepsister you want to fuck her in the ass. Don't do stuff like that. Live it like it's your last day, as if you're the exemplar of humanity. You are the Roman philosopher, the Roman emperor. You're all that is man, and you are or woman. And you are just fucking lead by example, Like, keep that in your head. Like, if I lead by example, then I'll be such a better dad and a better brother and a better friend. And I'm getting weepy, Tommie.
So tune in next week to Tommie and Spud's motivational podcast, where we talk about how to get more out of your life by using old age philosophy. Remember, kids, God. You're gonna die.
End it quickly. Bye-bye.
Bye.